Learning to live was a new concept to me, and I wondered if I had truly ever lived. I had always taken life a bit too seriously. I overanalyzed everything, lived too cautiously, and was a big-time people pleaser. It's not that I wanted to please everyone. I simply had never been brave enough to say no to the things that didn't resonate with me, and hell yes to the things that did. And so I began anew. The world was mine. I got out of the victim mindset I had been living. I surrendered, and instead of treating Howard as an enemy I was battling, he became a partner, and we began working together in harmony.
This is Andrew Petty is Dying, where we tap into the power of our mortality to become the people we were made to be and live the lives we were made to live. I'm your host, Andrew Petty, and I'm dying. I hate to say it, but so are you. Pam Blackburn loves to climb mountains. Pam is also dying. In this episode, Pam shares what the view is like from her lonely mountaintop of terminal illness. This is her final word to the world, prepared courageously and graciously to serve all of us who don't have access to the same view. There are things we need to hear and things we need to know that only those like Pam inhabiting the sacred and surreal space between life and death can convey to us. And there are things we need to do as a result of the insight we gain. Pam fills in all of the relevant biographical info as part of what she shares, so I'll skip that here in the intro. I will, though, simply say that I feel so fortunate to have met Pam and to count her as a new friend. She is full of life and warmth and mischief, more vibrantly alive in the midst of her suffering than most people I know. She is so clearly being transformed by her ongoing dance with death, and I don't think it's an exaggeration to say that there are ways in which her encounter with mortality has actually saved her life. A couple notes before we jump in. This episode doesn't follow the usual conversational interview format you've become accustomed to on this show. Instead, you'll only hear from Pam, reading her final word to the world that she poured her heart and soul into preparing for you and me. Also, about 11 minutes in, Pam mentions, quote, the glittery little children that cancer leaves behind just waiting to come to life. She's referring to cancerous cells that are undetectable by scans, but inevitably cause trouble down the road. Now, without further ado, here's Pam Blackburn with The View from Here.
As I write this, I'm sitting at the top of a mountain looking out on the world waking up. I needed to be here today to write and be inspired, find my inner peace, notice the beauty, awe, and joy in nature, to grasp the wonder of all that is important to me. It's sunrise, my favorite time of day, and the best part of it is getting to watch my favorite colors spread across the sky and bounce off the landscape below. The world is a beautiful place when you allow yourself to notice it. It's poetry to me, and I feel it deeply. Before I was given this gift of terminal cancer, I would say I was living less, worrying more, always competing with myself to do more, seeking approval from within and from others, always striving towards something more, something bigger, better, greater, whatever that meant. Being stamped with an expiration date has allowed me to see life from a new vantage point. I've climbed literal mountains for a long time, but metaphorically speaking, I am climbing a new mountain and getting even a better perspective from here. Life is precious and sweet, but we forget that through all our striving. I know I did. I was living with regret from the past, constantly striving toward the future, and never living in the moment. There is so much freedom in dying. Being told I was dying woke me up to what it feels like to truly come alive. I'm so grateful each and every day for that gift. This thing we call life and this other thing we call dying are really one and the same. They look alike, but they feel very different. I am choosing to live, but I'm not afraid to talk about dying. I wish more people were open to talking about it. I'm not big on bucket lists or trying to cram in daring adventures like jumping out of a perfectly good airplane with only a parachute. Power to you if you need that. May it bring you great joy. As for me, I just want to live fully, stay in the moment, notice all the small things, because those are the things that make it truly worth getting up in the morning. I thank the universe every day I wake up. I want to begin my day with poetry and end it in meditation. I want to spend as much time in nature as I can. Sit by a lake or the sea, listen to the waves roll in and the distant roar of a boat motor in the distance. I want to experience a star-filled sky from a place so dark I can't see my own hand in front of me. I want to have coffee and conversations with people I love. I want to walk barefoot through soft grass, drag my toes through the soft sand on the beach, walk through a field of sunflowers, lavender, or other happy flowers, draw hearts in the sand, watch an eagle fly, and children playing uninhibited. I want to enjoy the beauty around me, wildlife, wildflowers, and the love of my pets and my people. I want to lie by my husband's side, wrapped in his warm embrace. I want to hug my children and tell the people I love they have made a difference in my life. This is what I've learned so far. This is not my story of death, but rather a story of my life in its final act. It's a story of revival, reviving what has been dead inside for far too long, and figuring out how to truly live. Nothing I learned through this journey was new to me, but I ignored the nudges for my entire life until I had to literally be rolled off a mountain on a stretcher to sit up and take notice. Everything I've learned about living my best life has been available to me throughout this journey we call life, yet it took a terminal diagnosis to get my attention. What I learned in a short period of time has been available to me forever. All my greatness, all the beauty of the world, the awe and joy one can find in the simplest of moments. There are no spreadsheets or grand mathematical equations to solve. I simply needed to experience my smallness, find my greatness, and begin to listen to my heart and gut. My hope is you don't wait until you find yourself in a similar situation to free yourself of your own prison. It's all about how we live, how we celebrate, finding gratitude, moments of awe and wonder, and feeling joy every day. It's about paying attention to the little things, breathing through the tough stuff, surrendering, how we choose to perceive everything, and finding inner peace. It's about living while you're dying without dwelling on dying. You can't prepare for moments of joy. You have to allow them to happen. Notice the ordinary, because that is what is truly the extraordinary. Build a life you don't need a vacation from. Only you know what that looks like. If you don't think you know what you want, you should start getting honest with yourself. You certainly know what you don't want. Begin there. I want to briefly talk about my diagnosis and the first year after to give you some perspective of how I've changed. Early in the summer of 2019, I found out I had a brain tumor. Because as a family we tend to be snarky and use humor through the tough stuff, we decided that tumor needed a name. It would be Howard. Against doctor's orders, I took Howard on a long hike up a big hill, Humphreys Peak in Flagstaff, Arizona. Together we watched the most amazing sunrise I've ever seen. After seeing the neurosurgeon and getting an inconclusive diagnosis, I worked on changing everything about my life with the intention of getting rid of Howard's existence. I changed my diet completely, spent much more time outdoors, hiked more, made new friends, and let go of most things that caused me stress and anxiety. I was happy, I felt strong and healthy, but I was tired, actually completely exhausted. I didn't understand it, and I couldn't explain this level of fatigue. 3 months later, on September 18th, I had a follow-up MRI to see if there had been any change. Because it was early in the morning, I missed my morning hike. So just after sunset, I set off to hike one of my favorite peaks. It's my go-to hike when I have a lot of anxiety because somewhere near the top it gets hard enough and I can't think of anything else except conquering that beast. I figured I would wear off the anxiety Howard was causing me. That was where my world turned upside down. I wouldn't have to wait a week to find out the results of the MRI. Doctors would see them in the ER when I arrived by ambulance after having seizures on the mountain. Diagnosis, glioblastoma grade 4, prognosis terminal, life expectancy 8 to 12 months. Brain cancer is my new normal. My brain surgery left me with deficits, and I had to build a new way of being in the world. That hiker I was no longer exists, but I'm finding new ways to honor myself as well as give myself grace for days when fatigue takes over and I don't seem to accomplish anything visible. Learning to go easy on myself and give myself grace has allowed me to free myself from the guilt of making friends with my couch that day. On those days, I may sneak in a guided meditation, discover a new podcast, or read some poetry because reading an entire book would be too difficult. I also may sleep the entire day. But this place of acceptance I've gotten to took me a long time, and it was a very rocky road I traveled to get there. At first, all I thought about was dying. I lived entirely in the future. I planned my celebration of life even though I was doing anything but living. I was letting go of everything and everyone. Perhaps that was good in some ways because it helped me put together all my plans and wishes and the legalities I needed to take care of. But in so many ways, I simply wasted a year of my life. I'm currently approaching 3 years of surviving a terminal diagnosis. As I previously mentioned, I should have long ago have died. I prepared myself for death for an entire year. I spent that first year after diagnosis living with the expectation that I was to die any day now. I woke up every day wondering if today would be the last. I scanned my body first thing in the morning to see what hurt, how I felt, wondering if I put my feet on the ground if my legs would hold me up. I was a somewhat miserable human, not because of my diagnosis, but because of my attitude or perception. I continued my journey with the goal of dying. I received the standard of care for my type of cancer. I learned to walk again and functionally use my arm and leg that were left unusable following surgery. I was getting stronger every day. I decided to try to hike again, and by the end of the first year, I was strong enough to climb that mountain on which I was rescued. My family and friends joined me, and we celebrated big that day. It was then I decided I had spent the last year dying. I would spend the next year living. Outwardly, they look the same, but they feel very different. Learning to live was a new concept to me, and I wondered if I had truly ever lived. I had always taken life a bit too seriously. I overanalyzed everything, lived too cautiously, and was a big-time people pleaser. It's not that I wanted to please everyone. I simply had never been brave enough to say no to the things that didn't resonate with me, and hell yes to the things that did. And so I began anew. The world was mine. I got out of the victim mindset I had been living. I surrendered, and instead of treating Howard as an enemy I was battling, he became a partner, and we began working together in harmony. I accepted his presence and the glittery little children he left behind, just waiting to come to life. The lessons he has taught me are great, and I owe Howard for teaching me more about perspective than I had learned in all my years to date. There are so many things I've learned through this wild ride, but I can summarize with a simple list. If you are wondering how to live your best life, you can borrow my list or make your own. Most are simple and don't need explanation. Celebrate every day. Don't wait for special occasions. I have learned to celebrate every day. I no longer rise in the morning wondering if today will be the last. Instead, I wake up curious about what the day may bring and knowing I will always be a work in progress. I wonder what I will celebrate this day, what moments of awe and joy will cross my path. My ultimate goal is to wake up as excited as my dog. She never says no to an opportunity. Find your people, the ones who make you a better person. If you feel regret, find forgiveness. All feelings are good and valid. Feel them all. Allow yourself to be happy and have fun. Don't take things personally and don't take life too seriously. Focus on what you can control, surrender to what you can't. Offer kindness to others. Have family dinners together. My children are all adults, but we learned that coming back together for a weekly meal has brought us closer. At the risk of being redundant, find whatever brings you joy. The things you enjoy may surprise you if you are wrapped up in the busyness of your daily life. It only takes a few moments a day, and it's a game changer. I've started buying myself flowers. when I need something beautiful. I don't wait for somebody to buy them for me and read my mind that that's what I want that day. In our family, we use sarcasm, humor, wit, and laughter to get through the tough stuff. We decided from the beginning of my diagnosis that we would not hide the truth. We would talk about the things that were tough, and we would be there for each other in all our weird ways. We laugh about things that others don't understand, but we hope it helps other people realize they can ask anything, and we are open to sharing what is real. In the movie This Is 40, I think it's Albert Brooks' character is an older man who married a younger woman and ends up having triplets. His default excuse when he doesn't want to do something is, I have the high blood pressure and all, as he mumbles under his breath, and I don't want to. From that line came something I like to say whenever I do anything stupid, which is often. I say, I've got the brain cancer and all. It makes us all laugh every time. My final words before I offer a few words to my family is this. I'm not your inspiration. I have been inspired. Howard did that, but I could have and would have preferred to have done it without him. Pay attention to the nudges and inspire yourself to find a new perspective. And if it's okay with you, Andrew, I would like to turn my attention to my husband and children and address each of them individually. I hope others can relate to some of my situations in your own life. I've been married for over 40 years, and we have 5 adult children. 3 are adopted, 2 have special needs that require 24/7 care. Those 2 have been living in group homes since shortly after my illness because of our inability to care for them around the clock. To my family, all my children have challenged me in certain ways, and I believe we choose our families before we are born. These are the people that will help us to become better humans and to learn whatever it is we need to learn on a soul level. I know that is a very far-fetched concept for most of my family, and I'm not asking you to believe it, but it helps explain how we have helped each other. To my son, Ronnie, I know you prefer Ron, but what can I say? It's a mom thing. You have challenged my perseverance, taught me strength and courage, how to stand up for what I believe to be right, even when everyone else told me to do things differently. You taught me to lead with my heart. I had to throw away the concept of tough love and listen to my heart to show you a different way. Tough love was not the answer with you. You were way too smart for that. I had to just love you with all your anger, anxiety, testing of the limits, dangerous sports and recreational activities you participated in, your disregard for the rules, laws, and disrespect for other people's choices. You challenged me. You made me search deep for what the lessons were in this for me as well as you. We both messed up. But that is the beauty I can see now from this vantage point. I have done my soul searching, and so have you. In our conversation this week, you shared that you would not be alive if it weren't for me. This is most likely true. There were times I had to step back and watch you make really poor choices. Still, I kept loving you. Since my diagnosis, I have watched you grow and change more than anyone. I think we both were able to grasp on to the preciousness of life. I am proud to see you working toward a goal of work that is more fulfilling, leisure time that is satisfying, achieving goals that are important to you, and opening up to your own power within. I've always known what you were capable of, and I'm happy to see you realizing it too. Don't stop doing the work that will continue to make you a better person. All of us remain a work in progress until we take our final breath. I am still in need of growth. Thank you for your gift of humor, the ability to keep any conversation going, your compassion and tenderness towards other people. A lot of people don't know that you have that deep empathy for all others. I'm honored to say you are the other feminist in this family, albeit with a side of womanizing. We'll keep working on that, okay? I'm proud you continue to educate yourself on all things globally. It shows a deep caring. I am most grateful to see you smiling again. Thank you for being you. I love you. To my daughter, Amy, I wonder how I raised a daughter that is so bold, brave, and determined. You have written your own rule book, yet you aren't afraid to break those rules or anyone else's. You know what you want and are willing to wait for it. I have watched you go through heartbreak, challenges, and all the things that made you strong. You have made yourself a priority through all of it without being selfish. Your love and devotion for your animals is beautiful. Your passion for all animals is admirable. But all those damn strays you brought home I could have lived without. Still, your willingness to give of yourself brings me so much joy. You have so many gifts, and I hope you always see that in yourself. You told me I taught you that even though we all have an expiration date, that there are things we need to accomplish every day to keep going, embrace each day, and live and love while we are here. Actually, you taught me that. I know you wear a brave face, but I know all of this is hard for you. As the oldest child, I think you feel a responsibility that is not yours. I want you to know you don't always have to be brave and strong. Let yourself break sometimes. I love your sense of humor, your quick wit, your sarcasm, and your free spirit. I love you, and I love you more. To my youngest son, Zach, you are the kindest, most respectful, caring, and thoughtful human I know. Yet you are funny as can be with your one-liner sarcastic remarks. Your brilliance and constant thirst for knowledge never ceases to amaze me. Even though you have some challenges with language and expressing yourself, I hope you realize how intelligent you are. I know you dumb down your language for the rest of us because of your challenges with finding the language to express yourself. Your gift of autism and my gift of a brain tumor have met in the language areas. I now understand at least a tiny bit of your struggles. I have only had to deal with this a short time while you have had a lifetime. You are amazing and capable beyond what you believe. Trust yourself, your choices, and keep on your path of continuing to learn and educate yourself on worldly matters, politics, and human rights. You are making a difference in the world. I'm so happy to call you son. I love you. To Hannah, I've heard it said that children are as cute as they need to be. Well, little Miss Hurricane Hannah, this certainly rings true for you. Having been adopted and coming from a traumatic beginning, I don't blame you for your attitude one bit. Somehow, you have managed to wrap most people around your little finger and you win them over almost every time, even though they know what you are capable of. Keep being dynamite in a tiny package and let the world know who's in charge. Thank you for teaching me patience and how to advocate for those who don't have a voice of their own. I love you. To Melissa. Oh, Melissa, sweet Melissa. You have taught me more than any other human in the world. This is going to be hard. I'm sorry. People consider you a victim, and certainly with the abuse you suffered, you certainly are. But those of us who know and understand you call you a survivor and a warrior. When you first came into our family, I had to figure out how to care for a child who needed total care. I thought that was the hard part, but it just became second nature and just part of our routine. The real lessons came in watching you adapt, witnessing your determination, and learning unconditional love through your eyes. When you smile, your whole face smiles. And your laughter is the most contagious thing in any room. Since my diagnosis, I have had to reread your playbook over and over to find out how you learn to adapt and to warrior on and how to become the survivor you are. If I only had half your determination, I would be winning. I didn't know the reasons you became my child until recently. I hope the love we gave you made a difference in your life and that the group home you live in now is always filled with love that will carry you forward in your journey. I love you to the moon and back and beyond. And I am beyond grateful for all you have taught me. I love you. Tehran, my husband, from the beginning, you recognized something in me I didn't see in myself. Thank you for always believing in me. We have climbed many mountains together, literally, and we have chosen to climb mountains raising the family we created as well. It's taken courage, strength, and a commitment I didn't know I had. I've learned unconditional love through your example. Thank you for your sarcasm and humor and teaching me how to not take anything personally. These are things I needed to learn, especially with this crazy life we have. Thank you for being my caregiver, a word I know you don't like because you aren't exactly taking care of my needs at this point, but you do more than you realize. I'm grateful you have your dirt bike to find your freedom in the desert and feel alive. Thank you for making me laugh year after year. I will never forget the year we chose to renew our vows. There we were with no plan, as usual, except to go to Sedona and find a beautiful place to stand and face each other and read the vows we had prepared. It was pouring rain and gloomy, and even the most beautiful place in nature was as dreary as it gets. There we were, standing in the rain on the side of the road because it was the only place we could find, after exhausting all other possibilities. It was just the two of us, and I had written this sappy story of our partnership over the years, and I choked my way through it, holding back tears. Then it was your turn, and I don't know why I thought yours would be more of the same, but at that moment on the side of the road, dripping wet, I laughed so hard as you read the words on your paper. It was one of the best dreary days of my life. So many people have told me our relationship is enviable, and they wish they had a partnership we have. I'm grateful for us. There will come a day when you tuck me in bed, and you won't know it's the final time you say goodnight. At that point, I will not be able to tell you goodbye or thank you for being my everything for over 40 years. So goodbye, my friend. I am beyond grateful for all you've been to me. And in case I forget to tell you, thank you. I've had a really good life by your side. I miss you already.
Wow. Let what you've just heard sink in. We were welcomed into the heart of a fellow human who is staring her mortality squarely in the eyes. We ascended briefly to the lonely mountaintop that Pam stands on and shared her view from there. What an astounding gift. Thank you, Pam. What will you do with Pam's gift to you? Don't wait until death comes knocking on your door to wake up and acknowledge the reality of your mortality. Instead, courageously and voluntarily confront your mortality to harness its incomparable motivational power and live your one and only life with guts, gusto, and abandon. You can start today. What lessons will you take to heart from Pam's report from the front lines? What's just one thing you are willing and able to change today, the only day we've got, as a result of what stuck with you? Remember, you are going to die, but you're not dead yet, so get after it. It's one thing to tap into mortality's motivation to live your one and only life with guts, gusto, and abandon. But it's another thing entirely to sustain that motivation and act on it day in and day out, week in and week out, over the course of your lifetime. It's a discipline and a practice. And it happens best with the support of others who are on the same path. That's why I created the Graveyard Group. In small group settings, you and your very own confidential board of advisors help each other leave it all out on the field of life. You clear obstacles, mend relationships, summon the courage to pursue your dreams, and give the things that matter most the attention they deserve before it's too late. You become the person you were made to be and live the life you are made to live. I'm excited to share that a new women's graveyard group is forming after Labor Day, with my colleague, the amazing Beth Romano, serving as its facilitator. Beth pioneered the first women's graveyard group this past January, and she's ready to welcome more women into the experience. To learn more about joining a women's graveyard group, visit digdeepwinbig.com/the graveyard group or email me at andrew@digdeepwinbig.com. I'm so glad you tuned in today. Don't forget to follow this show, and I'll see you next time on Andrew Petty is Dying.